Okay, right here, people. This is getting a government account. Okay, you can get a government SAR, that's synthetic aperture radar account. They have different types of accounts that you can get a hold of here, basically. And it's important to understand how to basically realize that this technology is completely real. And there's all types of government accounts. You can get an Air Force account, there's all these different accounts. I have accounts with the United States Air Force. So when I'm doing stuff like tracking crime, trying to track crime, dealing with basically people that have basically stolen an entire fleet of vehicles, when I'm tracking things like government officials involving themselves in acts of treason, because I filed a panel at the Senate level, the candidate's right to file panel rights, the right to actually hold trials, to outfit those panels, to outfit those courts, to deal with invasion, insurrection, and rebellion. Many people don't understand these are constitutional powers. They existed prior to the Constitution. It's mandatory that the Constitution validates them. It's part of the original contract clauses. There's a long series of Stewart contract clauses that people just don't understand. And if the government violates those, it dissolves the Constitution of the United States, because we have to maintain different types of rule sets and security respective to the various reality, respective to we have a republic. We don't have Marxism, we don't have communism, we don't have socialism. They're banned, they're not allowed. Okay, we have colonial constitutional capitalism, we have a republic. And there's a lot more to that than many people understand. We're supposed to have unlimited access to the United States Treasury. There have been problems with corruption. We need to get repairs done on that because we're not supposed to have a tax-based economy. Taxes are for emergencies, things like we have war problems. We require additional federal military resources to protect the country. Logical aspect reasons why we would need certain things like this. But I'm mentioning these items because it's really important for people to understand.
Hello and welcome to this guide on how to file a SAR or a suspicious activity report with FinCEN in the US. Filing a SAR is still a very crucial process, and today I'll highlight the key steps that compliance officer will need to take. So let's jump right into today's video. How to file a SAR? Let's start immediately by determining if a SAR needs to be filed in the first place. To do so, you should be on the lookout for any suspicious activities or transactions that appear unusual or inconsistent with the customer known financial activities. This may also include transactions involving high-risk customers or high-risk products, or even transactions that involve individual entities identified on government watch lists or sanctions lists. If any of these situations arise, it's important to file a SAR. Collecting all necessary information. Once you establish that a suspicious activity took place, you will need to collect all the relevant information about the transaction or the activity. This includes customer information. This should be the customer name, the address, date of birth, social security number or taxpayer identification number, and any other identifying information that you have. Transaction information. This should include details about the transaction, such as the amount, date, and time of the transaction, the type of product or service involved, and any other relevant details. Supporting documentation.
You don't need a speaker. Your phone's real volume is locked. I'm about to show you a secret that the Android industry doesn't want you to know. Just go to Google Play, right? For free.
The utilization of Earth observation satellite technologies is on the rise, with an increasing number of entities leveraging satellite imagery for enhanced global insights and monitoring of changes. Despite its benefits, optical satellite systems face challenges, such as cloud cover and nighttime limitations, which can hinder their effectiveness during critical events like natural disasters. To overcome these obstacles, synthetic aperture radar offers a powerful alternative. Radar satellites emit radar waves that map the Earth's surface by capturing the reflected signals, enabling them to penetrate clouds, see beneath canopies, and operate in all weather conditions.
Hello, thank you for joining us today for our seminar, Developing Synthetic Aperture Radar Data for Antarctica, Capability Development and Application. I'm Layla Alperslan. I'm the branch head of Geoscience Australia's Digital Earth branch. I'm very excited about this talk today. Before we begin, I'd like to start with an acknowledgement to country. Geoscience Australia values the lands, water and sky as we work to deepen a shared understanding of country and Earth. We respect First Nations peoples and their enduring connection, contribution and obligations to country. Reflecting on our shared history, we are committed to listen and learn. Today's session explored
winds flowing off the continent create an area of
Hello, Shoreline, and hello to everyone watching from around the world. Excited to be back for this year's I.O. I think it's been an incredible year. We are taking
This looks impossible.
The evolution of technology, like, it doesn't happen automatically. The evolution of technology and evolution of humanity, only happens if somebody does something about it.
There are so many things on Earth that we can't see or haven't seen before. There's so many things that are happening that we haven't been able to observe before.
ISIGHT has developed a completely unique technology. It's a synthetic aperture radar system mounted.
Hold the phone. My hands are. Yeah, I do, but I can't reach it. Okay, now. Coffee.
we just have this amazing amount of, it just goes on and on and on to tell you how these things work. So there's a lot of different ways to get a hold of technology that you can utilize. Okay, here's one of the things here. You got a lot of different ways that you can get accounts. It's really exploded from what it used to be. I mean, my first account was like prior to the year 2000, and then I got another account and after 2000, and then I was doing a recent account setup here that I started up about 3 years ago or so, because I had to start working with the attacks on the archives that were being basically caused because of California regime activity, basically the regime of California. So we have a lot of evidence and we deal with different things, and I have special accounts. And when people steal your equipment, they're committing a very serious federal crime. And when it's being used in conjunction to do criminal forensics involving the retrieval of material pertaining to classified research, such as I have done, you're talking espionage. You're talking people in espionage. So when the regime of California is blacklisting my archive, when they're doing these illegal things, these people are violating national security. They're literally committing treason. And, I wanted people to get a bigger sample and be able to understand how they can go ahead, go on the web, and get a better understanding of this technology. It's really important that people would be able to do this and go ahead and get ahead of other people on understanding this, because we're way behind. We have a gross imbalance, for instance. Law enforcement in many areas throughout the state of California does not have SAR satellite technology as part of their policing. In other words, a homicide occurs or a terrorist attack occurs. Like, for instance, one of the biggest financial situations dealt with ways back, you had several years ago, a bunch of terrorists went in and they attacked a hospital in Riverside. And they ended up having to deploy, I believe, over 4,000 extra units to try to maintain more security and get more people out there asking questions, getting more coverage. And this was enormously expensive. This was enormously expensive, and this would have been like the beginning of Chad Bianco's area era, so to speak, being being elected sheriff at that time. I believe, I could be wrong, but I think that was it. Anyhow, so basically, instead of basically using SAR and tracking the location, go back to the data, the pre-recorded data, break out the compute, get that recomputing going, and then trace from the moments these people left the building and just trace where they went. Instead, you end up having thousands of units being deployed in standard styles of policing, standard styles of, the way you basically trace crime and do things in the field, instead of just going after these people and understanding it's expensive technology, yes, but it's also very efficient when you think about it. So you could have been able to, in anywhere from 4 to 16 hours, you could have worked with that data with the proper SAR setup and basically located those terrorists. So yeah, you still would have needed units. I mean, you would have probably wanted to bring 30, 40 units in to make sure a location would be safe, that you could get there to these certain people. And then it would obviously, live satellite tracking equipment would be most useful when dealing with the raid situation to make the arrest. But so, we have a problem with the mindsets in California, And I'm going to talk about those more because there's a reason for it. And part of the reason is that you have a certain amount of specialized security satellite tracking stuff that the state of California does use. Most of it's federal government related, but everything is changing. Everything is changing now because the cost has come down. You know, my first SAR computer setup that I was using back around, I had a smaller one that I put together in like 1998, but the better one would have been over after 2000. That one, I basically easily had $250,000 worth of equipment. Now, a lot of it was utilizing compute, and I just happened to have compute. I just happened to run into compute at the right price. You know, I mean, I'm a reasonably qualified technician in that area, so I could get a hold of equipment that other people were getting rid of because they wanted to update and get new equipment. So they were getting rid of equipment literally at scrap. You know, so I could go spend $500 and buy a semi-load full of computers that needed to be repaired and just go through them and repair them. So I had some older technology, but it was still working. And then once you whip it into shape, you know, it's still basically, once it's up and running, it was a $500,000 system. You know, the problem is who wants to buy a $500,000 system when you can buy a new system that's going to be more reliable and be faster, basically for at the same price or less money and be more reliable. So used equipment is kind of a weird thing. Used equipment doesn't have the same resale value, but it's not junk though. It has an inherent capability. So, you know, so the last system I was working with basically was utilizing remote compute in conjunction with the compute that I had. And I was literally working it out of a laptop. It wasn't working necessarily the greatest. You know, I had NVIDIA cards in the laptop, and I was working with it, but I was going to basically set it up and use remote compute. So I'm in the process of getting all that stuff going, and I have no funding. The state of California, we still have the regime, Gavin Newsom, election rigging, all of their cohorts, Julie Sue, blacklisting people, stay at home, ordered shut down, and then we're going to blacklist you and cut your incomes off and order that you can't do things and attack nonprofit organizations, attack charities and all this other stuff. So my campaign came under attack repeatedly from multiple sides. So what we have is rigged elections. These are illegal attacks. They're described as violations of articles of the United States. These are considered acts of war. These are among not just all of the actions. See, then you also have the algorithmic isolation. You have the algorithm blacklisting, where they are doing electronic kidnapping of people and forcing determinations on people and stopping situations. They're controlling false narratives. They're controlling massive algorithmic interpretation and access respective to types of ads or communications respective to certain different types of people. There are ways around certain things, to a certain point. If you want to, it can be very time consuming. You have people that are very frustrated. They want to get to a particular grassroots organization, but you have to know of it. In other words, you have to meet the people physically, and then you have to struggle repeatedly on the web to get it to actually allow you to get through to that organization, which of course is very embarrassing to people. You have people that have businesses, and they'll be talking with someone, they'll have a business card. Yes, you can look it up, and people pull out their cell phones, they type it into Google, and they go, yeah, you're not listed. And it's like, oh, no, that's not right. And then, well, let's try this, let's try that. Well, I also put this other video out. And you have to cross-coordinate all this other information. And eventually, after a complicated process, many people will get their stuff shown. But I have videos that I made. One of them was 37. Literally, you could type 37 letters in a row. You do them one at a time until you get to the point where Google finally matches the information so you can get through. And I've got videos here that I also have made showing the discrimination, showing the blacklisting. So you have all of these harassment algorithmics that make it impossible. They make it so labor intensive that it's impossible virtually for people to be efficient and get through efficiently. But then they maintain the efficiency for themselves. So you have treason being committed by people in California and in the process of elections. So the free, unimpeded passing of information is something that's important. I've lost count how many people that were running for one type of office or another type of office that basically were having problems. They were furious. They made a website and they couldn't talk to people, go out and talk to people in front of stores, and go to locations. Go to locations and give people a lecture and then say, yeah, here's our website. And then it's not working. It's not working from the standpoint that you can't get to it. And this is algorithmic isolation. This is discrimination. This is state-sponsored. There's literally several buildings. There's 4 main buildings in California, the biggest of which I believe is located in Sacramento. These are ghost buildings, basically, that basically they're rigging elections is what they're doing. So it's important to understand this because a lot of people don't want to talk about that stuff. So it's really, really important to understand how to do different stuff, how you get through. I'm not going to show you any of the other stuff. You got different ways you can sign up and get your SAMS IDs and all this other stuff, because I'm not going to show you anything that I did exactly because that would be bad. But that's on an individual level. These different accesses, you have private, you have different levels. Things keep getting declassified in sections all the time. So those of you who want to, actually check out all this unique stuff related to SAR and whatnot, you'll be able to do this basically and be able to see this kind of stuff and understand how you can do all of this unique stuff that way. So it's really a big deal that way to understand the importance of all of these different types of SAR technologies because they're just like incredibly extensive. You can just keep hitting these buttons and there's all these videos people have made about it. It's just absolutely incredible. And it's still expensive technology, but for instance, the first set of equipment that I built that would be like $250,000 right after about 2002, 3, right in there. Basically, that system today would cost a lot less. 5 years ago, you could build a system for about $25,000. That would be about the same. Today, you could for 10 grand. For 10 grand today, you could build what basically was easily $250,000 to $500,000 worth of equipment shortly after the year 2000. So this is something where things are going to get cheaper. See, it's going to be way cheaper. The data that's recorded is permanent, which means there's databases that permanently have recorded all of these rapid snapshots of different types of data and images. So basically, you have all this other stuff. So it's it's available. It's different. All this different stuff is now available, coming available. We got the new AMR technology coming up. That's a big one. I just put a little piece on it. I actually did some magnetic resonance experiments between 1997 and about 2002, 2003 in my Greenbrier, Arkansas lab area. Actually, somewhere even earlier. And it's amazing the type of results that you can get. I can't tell you a whole lot about it publicly because the findings were considered classified. We're talking extreme understanding for intelligence. I was doing things that were literally mind-blowing that people people said before you couldn't do them. There was no way to do that. And I was making miracles, basically. I found ways to do things that people said were impossible, and then boom, there it was. But it was one of those things where you can't just go public with it. That puts you in danger, number one, and it's also a problem for national security because people want to steal it. So my research to this very day, I still have custom experiments that I did. I know things that nobody knows. And all of that research that's been stolen due to the regime of California's illegal actions, that material's all classified. Certainly, that's classified. So, being an archiver, it's an omnibus type situation that's quite large. And I've had to deal with long-term illegal activity of the regime of California. It's just unbelievable how much crime these people have involved themselves in. These people literally, some of them literally go to Fidel Castro lectures on how to create European instrument governance systems and modify them for use to engage into United States governance, which of course is illegal, highly illegal, but they do it anyhow. And these people are trying to constitute, well, it's just this opinion. Taxation, I want to talk more about the Constitution and how taxation is supposed to properly work. And again, my modeling, we're talking decades worth of research, people, just decades worth of research that I had put time into working with different subjects. And I had a lot of material that I inherited from other people that are now dead. So a lot of that knowledge was very rare and proprietary to begin with onto different items that I was working with. I mean, myself, I have the knowledge. I'm the golden goose, you could say. I understand things. So, and I want to go into those more, but not at this moment. I can't necessarily go into it at this moment. But I wanted to give people more of a grasp of what reality actually is, what the truth actually is. Because we have these parties in the regime in California that are constantly lying about the reality of technology, the reality that they've been recorded, the reality of the crimes they're involving themselves in. And this is a big deal because the article violations disqualify. There's more than 4,000 people was doing a new assessment. More than 4,000 parties are disqualified. Basically, we're looking at easily more than 200 judges. We're looking at a list that's potentially more than 400 judges. 200 judges are disqualified. They will be disqualified because they are appointments of parties who have been caught red-handed, interfering with the process of elections, literally violating articles in the United States. They're disqualified. They can never hold office or run for office, and they'll never be able to vote ever again. They'll never be able to have any kind of management or banking job or anything like that. And then this all depends on how many years in prison they get. In a few cases, some of these cases have literally multiple overlapping death penalty areas. It's not a joke. This is not a game, people. It's not a game. So, despite the fact that, that I was doing a lot of stuff that's specifically going to be for gaming, as well as certain types of mass modeling to understand mass economic modeling and economic criminology, which is one of the things I'm going to implement as governor. But these people, basically, they're disqualified. I'm trying to get the resources going. I'm trying to get a fully operational, active center as emergency governor because these people have violated the articles. They're disqualified. There's 3 California Supreme Court judges. They're disqualified. Now, it's also important to understand the way the rules and regulations work respective to that constitutional area. These people are not only disqualified and they're from the elections, but their appointees, of course, are disqualified. And the appointees, some of their cases, these people are going to lose their retirement. They're going to lose their retirement. So a lot of these people, and you will also, the research we're going through connects people into these various different other areas of fraud. You have different things like, Kamala Harris, a lot of people don't understand, Kamala Harris, for a short period of time, was one of the engineers developing the Medicaid system in California. People don't realize that. Anyhow, but so these people are going to lose their retirement. So we're going to have a chance to recover a lot of money. Over 4,000 people are expected. They're going to lose their retirement because they participated, in many cases knowingly, respective with the programs. This is what Newsom did, and these people are going to be toast. So we're talking about recovering a lot of money for the state of California, a lot of money, and so I mean, I realize this information is kind of dry. It's lengthy for some of you voters, but I want to say that I put some stuff out for you to assimilate here. So it's important. It's important because we have to restore our Constitution. We have to stop these foreign instruments from coming in and committing treason, basically. I want to thank you for your time. Michael Crosby for governor